What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Shelley Finkle in regards to Deontay Wilder. Get this. Shelley Finkle says that he, which is Wilder, is mentally great. He wants this more than anything, and he's putting in the time and training and all that's needed to get it. Okay. He said if he can't beat Fury the way he's planned to do it now, then he just can't beat the guy. But I believe he will. I've seen things before, and I've seen the way it is now. I also remember there was only one time he was the underdog, and that was against the first Bermain-Stavern fight. And he got disciplined, and he did what he had to do. I think he just believed that there was no way that Fury could beat him, and it disrupted his equilibrium. I guess it is the best way to say it. He said he had a lot of things going on, and he thought about a lot of things. He said, I think he should have not said them. He did. He meant them, but now he's more. Okay, now I've got to just prove it. I can't talk, and that's what he's going to do. Wow. Now, let me stop. Those are words of Shelley Finkle, as you guys know. And to counterpunch what he had to say, I think this assessment of Shelley Finkle is very realistic and very honest. Why? Because the way he explained it, like what he's seen Wilder do, he hasn't seen Wilder do since the first Bermain-Stavern fight. Do you guys know when that was? That was in 2015. That was 6 years ago. So he said he's seen the same fire in Wilder that he's seen now as he's seen back then. So that should tell you a lot. That means there was a lot of inactivity or a lot of dry performances by Wilder, and Wilder just relying on the power like he, got by with for all these years. And to see what Shelley Finkle has to say and to see Shelley Finkle witness, like we all have witnessed, the constant training that Wilder's doing, and he's getting himself focused. Hey, if you can't do it now, he's not going to be able to do it. Okay? He's not going to be able to do it that night because he's put in the amount of time and effort now that he needs to take care of business. Okay? So, he also said this, Shelley Finkle. He just couldn't believe it. That was his anger. So he then spent time and said, look, let me focus on getting him in the ring and focus on winning. And that's what his mindset is totally. He's training harder for this fight that he's been training since August, July physically. Now he's been training tactically, and it's 8 weeks from tomorrow, the fight. There is no reason to talk, because no matter what anyone says, most people aren't going to believe it unless he proves it in the ring. I have to 100% agree. Shelley Finkle's dead on the money. But have you heard the thing that also stuck out at me, what he said? He said a lot of things. He thought a lot of things. He meant those things, but he shouldn't have said them. Okay, and why do I say that about Shelley Finkle? Shelley Finkle at least is being consistent, because you guys can remember when Anthony Joshua lost, right? And when Anthony Joshua made the statement that he questioned himself, like maybe he was good enough, if he was good enough, you guys remember that? And Shelley Finkle was one of the first people to say, hey, if I was his manager, I wouldn't have advised him to say that. Right? And it's good to hear Shelley Finkle say, well, hey, I don't agree with what Wilder said, or him saying it in public. I wouldn't have done that. So that tells you that Shelley Finkle was totally against what Deontay Wilder said in all these accusations. Okay, and then see, this cracks it all open, because it at least shows you what the hell his management thought about all the stuff that was going on, and all the stuff that was going on really couldn't be addressed until Deontay Wilder addressed it himself, because you have other channels, you had all this propaganda and all this shit going on about what they were saying, that happened to Wilder with the gloves and the spiked water and the dent in his head and the scratches in his ear and his costume and all that shit and the trainer, all that shit. Well, Shelley Finkle half-assed tried to play damage control here in spots, with Mark Breland, because it was Shelley Finkle, in fact, saying, hey, Mark Breland's still on the team, when they had fired him the day after that. Okay, so I don't even know when he was actually fired. But Shelley Finkle did come in and try to play damage control like, no, he hasn't went anywhere. Hell, there was rumors that him and Deontay Wilder split up. You guys remember that. So a lot of things that happened, and Shelley Finkle either couldn't comment on it, because I think it was just so much shit that Shelley Finkle didn't really want to respond to. He just decided not to. And the things that he did mention, like Mark Breland still being there, or that's ridiculous that the bicep injury, remember that? Because he had something to say about Junior Fa, right? And so everybody was contradicting themselves over there in Team Wilder. So Wilder had a lot going on, man. And I think what's important, I hope that he's went and got past all this, and it's refreshing to hear. It's a realistic thing to hear your manager say, hey, you shouldn't have said what you said about Tyson Fury. Okay, you shouldn't have said that. And he also said, he also has a lot of skills that hasn't been shown recently. Like he says, they need 12 rounds. I need 2 seconds. I think you'll see someone prepared for 12 rounds. So Shelley Finkle is basically assuring everyone that Deontay Wilder is okay. He's okay mentally. He's training physically. And he will be prepared to go 12 rounds like he's done in the first fight. But he will do a better job. I think that Shelley has talked to Wilder about these type of things, because I don't think he would have went and said this without verifying it with Wilder first. But one thing's sure, I know that Wilder has a lot of respect for Shelley and vice versa. And Shelley is one of those guys. He's way up there in age. So I don't think he really has time to bullshit about certain things. Okay? As far as, how a guy's mindset is, because people start to question, where you are mentally, especially when you start coming up with certain things that make no sense at all, that's coming from way from left field, and I'm at least glad that Shelley Finkle did give his opinion on, hey, I don't agree with what my fighter, Deontay Wilder, said about Tyson Fury. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say why. He just said, I wouldn't have done that. Okay? If you guys can, he just couldn't believe it. That was his anger. So he spent a lot of time, so he was mad. You know what I mean? But he should not have said them. So I think he should have not said them. So he had a lot of things he thought about. So that's at least Shelley Finkle saying how he felt. My only counterpunch is this, people, in conclusion. Shelley Finkle should have been more of a voice. He is the co-manager. Who's the other manager? JD's. We still ain't heard shit from him yet. Okay, so it's, at least we're finally getting people to come forth and talk about what really went on. And I know Shelley Finkle couldn't dog his fighter. He's really close to his fighter and stuff like that. It's his fighter. That's who he works for or whatever, however they word it or whatnot. But at the end of the day, he did make a lot of sense. Like, yo, listen, I wouldn't have said that. But I think that's just half of the puzzle. And I think he should have came forth immediately and said, hey, I wouldn't have said that. But I guess he let Wilder, have his breathing room because he felt he was angry or whatever. But, Shelley Finkle should have made that then and silenced everybody. And especially JD's ass should have came forward, him being the other part of that management company, and should have said what he and how he felt. But maybe he felt maybe he was going to be fired or whatever, which I don't know why he wasn't, but he's still on the team. Okay, so his team is still intact. But it's good to know that Shelley Finkle came forth and spoke what was on his mind about all the accusations. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Shelley Finkle's full statement concerning Deontay Wilder's accusations towards Tyson Fury. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.